Have you ever seen another person's thigh and thought to yourself, oh man, that looks delicious. I'd sure like to eat that. Well, Issei Sagawa of Kobe, Japan, that's exactly what he did. Issei Sagawa is also known as the Kobe Cannibal. He was born in Kobe, Hyogo Prefecture in Japan. I hope I pronounced that right. He was, ever since he was a young child, he's always had a craving for human flesh. He was born premature, and according to sources on the interwebs, he was smaller than the palm of his father's hand. Apparently, his father could hold his infant son in the palm of his hand. It sounds a little sketchy, but we're going to go with it. That's what's written on the Wikipedia page, and that's what other people are reporting all over YouTube. So, since he's been a little kid, he's claimed that since he's been in like first grade, and he was sitting there in class, and he saw the thigh of a classmate that it looked appetizing to him, and he was sitting there as a little kid going, yeah, I'd really like to eat that person over there. You know, that's what I want to do. So he did not act on those impulses right away. Okay, they kind of like festered inside of him. They grew as he got older. He went through his childhood doing normal childhood things like, you know, playing ball with friends, playing with action figures, having sex with your dog, going to movies, you know, just normal kid stuff. Yeah, so he was into bestiality. This is Issei Sagawa, in his own words, telling reporters that as a child, he would engage in bestiality with his pet dogs. That's... Moving on. So he's having these fantasies about eating human flesh. He's having relations with animals. He gets older. He decides that, you know what? I think I'm gonna try this whole cannibal thing out. After all, I think I'm gonna go do this. You know. So he's stalking this girl. She was a student that was in Tokyo going to university, and he decided to follow her home. He broke into her house and she was sleeping, and he was gonna shoot her, but he couldn't get the nerve up. Thank God. All right. He also, at that same moment, he said, you know what? Maybe I can just go slice part of her butt off, go home, and eat her. He was craving butt burger. I don't know what to say. I mean, this is what happened. Anyway. Before he had a chance to slice the girl's butt open and remove some of that tender butt flesh, the girl woke up and started fighting back. And I guess he ran out of the house in a nervous panic, I'm assuming. He did get arrested, all right? So he gets arrested for attempted rape. He never tells the police, like, hey, I was actually there trying to eat this girl. So I guess he just kind of like, yeah, I was trying to rape her, whatever. I believe that since she was a student in Tokyo, visiting, and she didn't want to get held up any longer than she had to, dealing with this lunatic who broke into her house, right? I'm assuming that it was easier for her to say yes, sure, not a problem, when Issei Sagawa's wealthy father approached her and said, hey, can we settle this thing out of court? Can you put all this behind both you and my son? My son messed up, and but you didn't get hurt. Here's a whole pile of money. What do you say we just drop all the charges, right? And that's what happened. Okay, so the charges were dropped against the Kobe Cannibal. Right? He's not the Kobe Cannibal yet. Later, he decided that he was gonna move to France, right? And I guess live out his cannibal fantasy there. And he's going to use prostitutes. That was going to be the means to an end, right? Started getting French prostitutes. I guess maybe Jack the Ripper was sort of an inspiration. I don't know. The guy is sick. And with each of the prostitutes he got, he tried to build up the nerve to commit the murder so he could then dine on their corpses. But for a while, he could not. Until one day in 1981, when he could. There was an innocent woman named Renee Hart-Tevelt. And she was in Paris in 1981 when she crossed paths with this sick bastard. Under the guise of a friendly educational evening, right? Get together, read some German poetry for me, translate it. She took him up on the offer. And unfortunately, this was the night that Issei Sagawa finally got up the nerve to go all the way through with his sick fantasy. So, she's translating these German poems for him, and he's recording them. While she's distracted, he comes up behind her to try to murder her with a pistol. And apparently the pistol either jams, or maybe he had the safety on and he was just too nervous and didn't realize it. He put the pistol down and he picked up his .22 caliber hunting rifle. He fired his hunting rifle in the back of her head. He then started eating her. He cut up pieces because he found that his teeth couldn't chew through the flesh. Okay? So he was actually trying to feed on her body like wild animals would feed on their kill. I don't know if that was part of his fantasy, like the animal part. However, he was been interviewed many times. He's he does the talk show circuits in Japan and other countries, and they interview him about this killing. Okay, he got frustrated that he couldn't chew through her butt, and he went and got a knife and then started cutting through the flesh, and found it still to be very, very tough. So tough that he complained that his jaw was hurting. He says that thinly sliced flesh of a human boiled in in water is his favorite way of eating a person. He's only eaten one person, just so you know. Only eaten one. I guess that we know of. Maybe he ate somebody else and he just hasn't fessed up to it. I don't know. But the deal is this. It got worse than just... That's already bad enough, right? He killed her. He murdered her. And then he ate her. He also performed acts on parts of her remains for a few days until he decided, okay, I guess fun's over. I'd better, clean up the apartment. And he stuffed her body, or the body parts that were left over, into 2 suitcases. And this... Oh my God. This fine human goes to a local park and just sets him down on the ground. Goes home. Some people see blood just puddling out of these mysterious suitcases. call the police. Police show up, and they see what's in the suitcases. It's the remains of Renee. He gets caught. He is awaiting trial for a couple of years, and they find that, nah, he's insane. So, you're free to go. When he returned to Japan, they could not try him for that crime because he's already been tried in France. And so now, to this day, he gives interviews. You know, local news station wants to do like maybe an anniversary story. Hey, you're that cannibal guy from 1981. What have you been up to? Want to share some crazy stories with our audience, you know? And yeah, he's there to do that. Yeah, sure, okay, yeah. This is the story of what happens when you apparently are so deranged, right, that you do the most vile of acts. You know, I'm just really having trouble with this one because, like, yeah, I watch these true crime shows all the time. I actually never heard of this guy. I was on this website, that one right there, and I came across his story, and I'm like, man, never heard of this dude. Now, usually, like when, you know, I watch these true crime shows or movies that were inspired by real life events, you know, usually there's always punishment, you know? So the audience, us at home, they're watching these shows, they're going to the movies and paying the tickets to see the movies, you know, like, oh man, well, the true life ones, right? I almost said Hannibal Lecter, but that's not true life. Anyhow, there's always that point where you're like, oh, okay, and then he gets punished. The killer gets caught. He gets thrown in jail for like 50 years. He dies in prison, or he has a stroke in prison, whatever. Or he gets the gas chamber, lethal injection, or another prisoner heard what he did and, you know, gives him the shiv in prison. This is not like those stories. And it's really creepy. It's just really creepy to think that this happened with this heinous of a crime. So that's the Kobe Cannibal. Lock your doors. Lock your doors if you're in Japan and you see, what's his name again? Issei Sagawa. You see Issei Sagawa in your neighborhood?